Hey, it's your favorite remote work enthusiast, Delilah. I hope you're doing well and welcome to TTEC Week. In case you haven't heard, all week long, I'm going to be bringing you the hottest work from home opportunities from TTEC. And I've got some exclusives for y'all, okay? They have over 4,500 open positions. And I wanted to make sure that if anybody was going to fill these positions, it was going to be y'all. So that's why we are teaming up to bring you all of these hot leads. And I figured, you know what? I don't want to just bring you these hot leads. I want to make sure that you can actually secure one of these hot leads. And that is why today we are going to be talking to Christina Serda, who is the talent acquisition manager at TTEC. She is going to give us the inside scoop on how to get hired with TTEC, what to expect after we hit the apply button. And I just asked every single question that came to mind. So if you have a question about TTEC, chances are I probably asked that question to Christina and she answered it. So I am super excited about this interview. We're gonna go ahead and get into it right now. I guarantee you're gonna leave this interview with some type of knowledge that is gonna help you with getting on with TTEC. So we're gonna get into that right now, but first make sure you hit the subscribe button and you tap the notification bell because I'm going to be bringing hot leads from TTEC all week long, and I post every single weekday anyhow. Like, this is the place to be if you want to work from home. All we talk about here are work from home jobs and information. So take care of that business, and once you do, we are ready to jump in. Hey there, it is your favorite remote work enthusiast, Delilah, and today we have a very special guest. This week is all about TTEC, and I wanted you guys to have not only these hot leads and these opportunities to get hired, but I wanted to give you all an insider's perspective on how you can really make that happen. And I figured no better guest to have than the talent acquisition manager from TTEC. And that's who we're talking to here, Miss Christina Serda. So, hi, Christina.
Hi, thank you for having me, Delilah.
Thank you for coming and chatting with us, because I know my audience has all these burning questions about how to actually make work from home happen. And especially since we're talking about just all the leads that TTEC has to offer this week, I felt like this was just perfect. So I kind of want to know, like, what do you do as the talent acquisition manager with TTEC?
Oh, that's a loaded question. So really my responsibility is to really support all of the TTEC sites across the US. Mm-hmm. So the teams that are helping to interview and work through our candidates' onboarding experience, and then getting our candidates to their day one of training. Anything between application and day one of training is really within our responsibility, and I help to oversee that across the US.
Wow. Okay. So that's perfect, because I know whenever my audience tells me like, okay, I applied to lead, now what? There's always that question mark, with what happens once I hit submit application. Okay. And I know TTEC has so many open positions that they're looking to fill. What can they expect, or what happens next after they hit apply?
Pretty great. That's a great question. So we've got a couple of different ways that TTEC handles the application. So TTEC actually responded to COVID just like many other employers across the world has. We are now modeling the remote work style. Mm-hmm. So there was a difference between working at a TTEC site at one time and then working from home with TTEC. So in 2019 and early 2020, that was actually a reality, right? Where you could either work from home or work on site. So now with TTEC's response to COVID, everybody's really modeling that work from home model. So what that means is when you hit send on that application, it really depends on what you apply to. So pretty much what our teams are doing is looking at the need, right? So I primarily handle the brick and mortar or the TTEC site applications, where we have an entire other team that handles the 100% work from home applications. So either way, what the teams are doing is they're processing those applications as they come in, and we're really looking at the different clients that we're supporting, and we kind of look at the demographics, like where do you live, what type of assessments did you take, We're just really looking at what you applied, what you did, and we're trying to see where the best fit for not only you, but what's going to get you hired quicker and where you could start quicker. So we're kind of looking at that. Once we decide which direction we're taking, then we're start to dig into start communicating with you. The best form of communication for us is text and email. I'd probably say the first one would be email, and then the second would be like a text message. So what I think that your followers should be looking at and really understanding is to just keep your eyes on your emails and potentially a text message, because we're all not trying to get you gift cards to Walmart, right?
I think a lot of people are still sort of skeptical about like companies texting, but that's kind of just the medium that we're used to now. Absolutely. So that brought up a question. So you guys had to pivot because of COVID. The people who worked in the brick and mortar locations, they started working from home. Is there a plan for those folks to go back to the office? Because I know those positions are now work from home.
So work from home and working remote are two different things, which we're trying to really start having that type of conversation on the front end, right? So for most of my teams that are hiring for the brick and mortar sites, which is the TTEC sites that are there, we're just not using them yet. But for the teams that are hiring for the sites, what we're trying to terminology that we're using is, this is a remote model, right? It is a temporary situation because we're going to go back. We don't have any intentions of closing our sites. So when it comes to that time, when whoever makes that decision, right? Either federal, local, whatever, then you have a job, right? We're not going to say, sorry, you no longer have a job with us. We may gravitate towards the work from home team and engage you into that, or somehow try to work it. But the sites are not going to set you up for failure. So we're actually on the front end, when we have that interview with you, we're asking you, how far from a site are you? Because we really don't want to set you up for failure. So that's when the candidate really needs to be honest and say, you know what, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 3 hours away. Just because they want the opportunity, it could really backfire them at the back end, or when we're ready to really gravitate back on site. So really, it's honesty, it's communication. And if they're within that 30, 45 minute hour and they feel like they want to commute, great. But when we go back on site, it's probably not going to be ideal. So we're going to look at some options, and I can't tell you what the final answer is going to be, right? Because I don't get paid for that answer. I wish I did, but I don't know. But we really are starting to make sure to close in on that radius when we're hiring for a brick and mortar site. So that way in a year, 2 years, or whatever the case may be, it doesn't impact you negatively. Some clients have gone 100% work from home. So you'll know that. And at that point, sometimes people say, I'm going to self-select out at this point, because eventually when we go back on site, I don't want to waste your time, and I definitely don't want to waste mine. So that's definitely a valid conversation that we have. But honestly, I really don't know what the end result's going to be, because at the end of the day, we need you.
Okay, that's great to know. So people will know ahead of time, hey, there is a chance that when everything opens up again, we're going back to the site. Yeah. And they'll also know, like, okay, this is just strictly work from home. So it's not like they get blindsided.
No. If they don't know, they better reach out to somebody and get that answer, because one, we may not be delivering the best service that we possibly can, and that's not okay. But two, it's a career. I mean, we don't want you to come in just to, to be gone in 6 months or a year. It's really not that type of commitment and partnership that we're looking for. So we're going to be upfront with you, just like we expect to be told, that upfront as well.
I love that transparency.
It has to be. It has to.
I've heard you guys have a lot of healthcare opportunities, and my audience loves healthcare. Can you tell me a little bit about what you got for that?
Yeah, I mean, like you said it. I mean, we're coming up on healthcare season, so that means we are looking for licensed and non-licensed. So if you are licensed in hand, my goodness, I'll give you my number right now, right? But we also have the opportunity to train you to get your license. That's happening. I can tell you, there is so much opportunity, and it's one of the best opportunities because you have such an ability to impact somebody's life on such a positive level. So we're really looking for excellent customer service representatives representatives for non-licensed and licensed. And the great thing about it, if you don't have your license, we're going to pay you to get your license, and we're going to pay for the license. So it's insane, because that's going to belong to you. You're going to take it, because most of the healthcare clients that we work with is on a temp basis, right? Mm-hmm. We're very upfront with that as well. And so you could come back for healthcare seasons and then you go somewhere else and you use your license, and then when healthcare season comes back at TTEC, man, you're up and running with us. So endless amount of opportunities. I think some clients are even handing out equipment as well. So there's just so many different options, but it's on us, and we're looking for excellent customer service reps for healthcare season. Exactly.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love when a company is going to invest in their employees. And I mean, even if it doesn't work out long term, you still have that license you can take with you, and it opens up more doors. So I just love that. That's amazing of TTEC.
Yeah.
So I have a question, because I know my audience is probably thinking, okay, so we know about possibly, doing brick and mortar, work from home. There's some healthcare opportunities I can advance. But what happens when you guys say, let's interview? How do I even get to that point where I'm hired? What do they go through? What's that process? Is it multiple rounds? Is it group, individual?
It can be. It just really depending on the need, Delilah. But at the end of the day, it's probably going to be what most of our sites do is a group information session. Because at the end of the day, what we're looking is to share the info. We want to tell you what the job entails, making sure what we have to offer can fit within your life right now and what it could look like in the future. So we do like a high level intro, who we are, what we do, what are the hours of operation, what are the training hours. We just go through very high level. Then people start asking questions, and it really takes its own form, right? And it's kind of like a group interview. And some people just need that one-to-one, like, I have a question that maybe is a little bit more sensitive, or somebody that isn't really ready to ask a question in a group setting. So at that point, we can start making either breakout rooms, or we bring in another recruiter and say, hey, can you take this person and talk with them? They have a question. But it really just depends on how many we need to hire, and then really the time frame in which we need to do it. And honestly, if somebody were to reach out to me and say, I understand you have a group session, but I would feel more comfortable with a one-to-one, amazing. That just tells me this person has something to offer, and I really need to listen. So there's options out there. We just need to know how you feel. Me, honestly, I can do something in a group setting, and then I can also do a one-to-one interview. It just really depends. So it really takes that person to communicate and say, this group info was awesome, but I think I just need to dig in a little bit. So it just really depends on what speaks to them and what form. But mainly most of the sites are going to do like a group interview, high level information, give all the information, answer questions like pay and, training, attendance, and just all those things. So it's either or, but mainly it'll be like a group info session. But you're going to be looking for an email, because we like to email and say, hey, we've got some interviews coming up. I see that you applied. Are you interested in attending? And normally it's by Zoom.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
So they apply. I just want to make sure I got it. Okay. They apply. There's an info session, which is sort of like the group interview, or is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And then after that, is there an offer made? Or so an offer is made.
Normally, yeah. So normally during that, does anybody have any questions? What do you guys think? And everyone's like, yeah, we're excited. You're like, you know what? That's great. Let's make this happen. So at that point, we'll start sending you an email that says, congratulations, welcome to the team. This is what you got to do next. And people just are so excited. And we like to keep everybody together because, hey, let's knock this paperwork out. Because as we know it, we're busy. We got things that we got to do. We can get up and leave and not even think about what we got to do. Us thinking we have a job, but we haven't really done everything to secure that spot, right? So sometimes I ask our applicants and the people that we're emailing to give us like 45 minutes to an hour. Give us that time so that way if there is an offer of employment, we can just knock everything out and you can go on with your day. So usually I would be prepared to be on the phone for about an hour, interview, get the information that you need. And if we're a perfect match, let's finish it out in about 30, 40 minutes and we're gone.
Oh, yeah. Great. Wow. That sounds like it happens pretty fast. Is that fair to say?
It can. Oh, absolutely. It definitely can. Yeah.
Okay. And as far as like, okay, so now they did what they needed to do with the paperwork, they've submitted it. When usually could they expect their start date? Is there like one training a month, or are there multiple, classes a month? How does that look?
Again, it depends on, we've got a TTEC in McAllen, Texas. They have a class starting every week, where we have another site in Morgantown, West Virginia, and they have one class starting every 2 weeks. And then you have another site, let's say in Arizona, and they have a class starting every Monday. It just depends on where you're at, and just depends on what TTEC that location is hiring for. So at that time, you could ask for options. And if, we're going to ask you, being that summer is coming up, when you got kids going to camps and all kinds of stuff, do you have any long weekends planned, prepaid vacation? So we're looking, we don't want to impact you negatively because you're going to be missing some days. So I think this start date would be better for you. So giving you some options based off of the feedback that you're giving us, so that we can still offer you employment. You still have an opportunity to work with TTEC, but we're making it successful for you so that you can attend training and get all of the knowledge that you need in order to be successful.
Love that. I mean, everything I've heard so far, it just sounds so good, because I'll hear from my audience like, oh, this sounds perfect, but I can't make that start date because, especially during the summer months, I'm going on vacation. So, a lot of times it's like, well, you missed that train. But it sounds like TTEC says, there's another train coming.
Yeah, there usually will be. I mean, it's not ideal for us to be able to push you off, to the next one, because obviously we want you to start working so that you start earning money, and then potentially, depending on what client is, you're bonusing. I mean, you're just really benefiting. So, but at the same time, if you're not being honest with us, and, you're really not telling us, oh, I forgot I had this, it can really, impact your employment. And that's not what we want. So that's why I say, let's just have a conversation. Let's be honest about what's going on, because we really want a lasting partnership. We just don't want something short term and you're in and you're out. That's not what we're looking for.
Yeah. And I love that. And, some things, like, I just have so many questions coming to my mind. I get lots of questions about no experience friendly opportunities. I also get lots of questions about, like, I'm older, I'm retired, Okay, so can you speak a little bit to that? Like, is TTEC no experience friendly? And how does TTEC navigate or feel about older applicants? Like, I know legally you're not supposed to discriminate, and I don't know if we're stepping in any, forbidden territory, but I do want us to have a transparent conversation about, like, how do you see older applicants, and on the opposite end, probably young, no experience. Yeah.
Most of our job descriptions for TTEC, when we talk about it like a customer service representative, we say preferred, right? Customer service is preferred, but it's never required. And let me explain why. So, customer service can be really anything. If you worked in the food industry, if you worked in any type of industry where you've provided customer service, what that is helping to transition you onto kind of the inbound phone, over the phone type of scenario, right? Because we know that people can hide behind a phone. And so, they can make themselves and act a certain way. So having that customer service experience will give you that knowledge on how to de-escalate, maybe phrasing of the words, but training will also help with that. So that's why we say it's preferred, because we want you to have a good experience. We want the candidates to have, and the new hires to have an experience. As we all know, if we worked in the food industry, we probably had food thrown back in our faces. And I can tell you that's happened to me, right? And so at least no food is being thrown in my face over the phone, but words can, and phrases can. And that's where we say, having customer service experience is really helpful, because you kind of get to know people and how people act. And so we say that because we want you to have a positive experience, but that will not disqualify somebody in some cases where you have to prepare. If you don't have experience, you really need to prepare for the job description and say, am I being able to connect the dots here? Because we may throw some questions out that say, how would you handle this situation? And if you've never had that experience, it can really be hard for you to draw from an experience and be able to answer that question. So it just means to say, you know what, maybe I need to get a couple of months of a customer service experience under my belt so that I can qualify for this role. And that's not always a bad thing. You know what I mean? So it kind of helps to understand just that customer service interaction and how you're really there to help them, even though they're yelling at you, So it can be a little bit offsetting, but it won't disqualify somebody in most cases, as long as they do their homework and know how maybe some of their jobs, like maybe cutting grass for a friend or babysitting, how can you relate some of those into this experience? So I think that would be helpful, and that's probably some homework. So for the mature job seeker, those are my favorite, because the mature, and I'm going to say those because I'm part of that age group. I'm just going to check that box for you right now, right? I don't mess around, and I already know what I want. I know that I need benefits. I know that I need something that I can't just be jumping around at. So honestly, I enjoy that box, right? Because those types of employees are going to be with us. And that's really what we're looking for as well, because they're going to be able to mentor, other agents coming in that really don't have that experience. So I've had nothing but positive feedback, especially from the mature workforce, because they're really looking for the lasting type of employment and tapping into the benefits that the job can. And they're going to be our biggest cheerleaders out in social media and with their friends and networking. I had nothing but positive feedback from a lot of the mature job seekers, and I'm really happy to help them. Honestly, it's not even a legal thing. It's just like they're so nice. So I take that too. Like, we just want a job, and we want to provide for our families, and we're at that age where we just got to dig in and get the job done. So I love it. Both sides. Amazing.
I know it sounds like she just saying this, but I'm serious. Everything that you were saying, I am really like resonating with, and I love it because I just know my audience so well. And I know that I've got a lot of folks who are retired, and I've also got on the opposite end a lot of people who, like, I've never had a job before. I'm 18 years old. I want to work from home. And it's just great to know that TTEC has something for both everybody, and in between, and the benefits, you touched on that. Are you able to talk a little bit more to that? Because I'm always talking about benefits.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I know that when you're younger, I had some jobs, and benefits weren't like a big thing because my parents carried my benefits. But girl, now I had my kids, and we did braces. I mean, it is an amazing plan, and TTEC does pay a portion of our insurance, so every month, right? But I use the medical, I use the dental, I use the vision. We have 401k. I use the flexible spending, which you take money out of your check and you put it into this bank and use it for health reasons. It's amazing. I mean, I pretty much use almost everything. They even have pet insurance, which I have not done. I haven't dove into, and I probably should. But there's something for everybody. You don't have to use it, but it really has. Me and my family, we use it, and I know a lot of people from our department, like the talent acquisition or recruiting teams, we have nothing bad to say about it.
That's good.
So it's there. It's there. Yeah, it's there.
I was checking you guys out on Glassdoor. I'm always checking out companies on Glassdoor, and you guys have really great reviews in general and for healthcare. So I'm not sure if you knew that, but it was great to hear from you that you love the insurance too. So
yeah, absolutely.
One more question. I don't want to hold you too long, but kind of going back, because I know like just some basic questions that my audience might have about like the resumes. Are there any things that they can put on their resumes, or is there anything that they say during the application or any assessments that can help them and maybe vice versa hurt them?
Okay. Well, we have our own battery of assessments. So as long as you take those assessments and you go into that knowing you want to do your best on the assessments, right? Because we actually look at them, and every assessment can either stop you or continue on in the process. So that's how important assessments are. They're just not a guide for us, right? It's not like, hey, take a look over here. It's like you go forward or you stop here, thank you, but you can try again in 30 days. So really, I think what your audience should know is that the assessments are absolutely important. It's like a one-stop shop. We have a video, you can learn a little bit about TTEC, the culture, the organization. It'll take you through some set of questions, and then it'll actually test like your Wi-Fi speed. So you definitely want to be at home or wherever you're going to be using the Wi-Fi to run run the computers that are issued by TTEC to do your job. And so it's all encompassed. So if you fail, you can't retest for 30 days.
Yikes.
So that is, it's impactful, especially if you really are looking forward to working with TTEC. But other than that, the assessments are built in. And then the resumes, upload one. I can't say enough about it because there's so many applications that don't have it. And I'm going to tell you that when our recruiters are interviewing, I'm the one in the background, like, hey guys, I'm looking for a supervisor, or I'm looking for a team lead, or I'm looking for somebody in the talent. I'm looking for a recruiter. If you see anybody in your interviews. And so if there's no resume and if there is really no spotlight on your skills and experience, then it's really hard to find people. And I'm looking outside when I could have my diamond in the rough right there in an interview. So I say always upload your resume, make sure it's up to date. Me as a talent acquisition manager, and if you're applying for a recruiter or somewhere in my department and you don't have a resume, it's probably not going to happen for you, right? So I say always be ready, upload your resume, because you never know who's going to be. I'm sometimes filling in for a recruiter and they're like, hey, I got to, take the day off. Can you take my interviews? My ears are this big and I'm looking for some talent. So you just never know who you're going to be talking to. That would be my biggest tip.
Perfect. And am I hearing that there's also like room for like middle management and I guess other positions? Okay.
Absolutely. We are a really big company. So I'm not exactly sure, it's what information out there, but we're about 60,000 employees strong. Oh. We're a global organization. And so we have so many different roles available with TTEC. We're not just hiring customer service agents. I mean, we're looking for IT people. We're looking for security, for real estate, marketing. I mean, there's so many different opportunities available with TTEC. When I say to people, it's not an entry level position. It's more of an entry point because you enter into the organization, you learn a little bit about the culture of the company. That's when it gets good. That's when your skills and experience comes in and you're like, what can I do with this? And, and I don't think people think about that really because I'm going to tell you, so we have a VP who is a liaison between TTEC and a client. She's a vice president. She started as an agent.
Wow.
And that was, that's a success story in itself.
Yeah.
My boss, she's a director for talent acquisition for the US. She started as an agent. She worked her way up.
People even believe that a company will promote them and let alone get them to such a high position. And TTEC does that.
It's possible. I mean, you got to put some work in, and who doesn't though, right? So wherever you're working, as far as wherever you're at, you got to look and say, what can this do, and what can I make of it? And so I think it's a really great way to learn the culture, learn the organization, get some time under your belt, really understand the culture. I think because it's very different for every job, and then say, okay, this is what I want to do, and that's how our trainers. Now, do you really think that a trainer can train if they haven't known the business themselves? It's really not possible. No. So you kind of have to walk a mile in your shoes before you can teach people, right? And that's where we get our leadership, is straight from agents.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's possible. Yeah. And when we look at talent acquisition team, we're looking at interviewing candidates to fit a profile that is going to be successful. I can tell you 80%. Anywhere from 50 to 80% of our talent acquisition team members were from agents because they've worked that client. They've actually talked to the customers. They know the profile that works and they're the ones selecting them. Win-win.
Oh my goodness. And you know what? I think this is the perfect place to just go ahead and close out. I mean, every time we talk, it just keeps getting better and better and better. And I think at this point, my audience is like, where's a lead for me to go apply to? So I'm super excited about TTEC Week. All week long, I'm going to be bringing the hottest work from home opportunities from TTEC. And thank you so much, Christina. This was just so insightful. I think my audience is going to have to rewind and play it again multiple times because there's been so many gems just dropped in this interview. And
Agreed.
I think we now know, like, okay, this is what happens after I hit apply. So
also, you have to have a big scoop of patience, right? Because we've got only so many recruiters across the US. We're really trying to get to everybody. So I just say, be patient with us. You know, we're going to get there, and we look forward to the applications, honestly.
of course, yes. So patience, guys, patience. I know you're ready to get started with TTEC, but you just got to wait a little bit, check your email, and just do what they tell you to do and get that process going.
Agreed.
Thank you, Christina. Take care.
You're welcome. Bye.
All right, that was the interview with Christina. Oh my goodness. That was awesome. And I'm being so sincere with how enthusiastic I am about hearing all of this information. From my perspective, being someone who is an HR professional and working with so many different companies, and that's how I bring a lot of these leads to y'all, in addition to the work that I do within my consultancy. I can tell you something, okay? Sometimes a company, they will have a persona or a reputation online, but then you get a different feel for it when you actually talk to someone who works in that company. And I will say that everything that I have researched about TTEC is in line with what Christina was talking about and saying. And you can just tell when someone is happy with their employment. And there was nothing that Christina was saying that did not come across as forced, or that came across as forced, or felt like she was, not being sincere. In fact, I felt like Christina just kept it all the way real with us. She gave us the inside scoop, and I can't ask for anything better. TTEC loves no experience as well as the mature job seeker, okay? TTEC loves to promote from within. TTEC will take your resume and see what other things that you have done, and even match you up with some openings that they have that you didn't know about. Like, everything that she said just speaks to their culture and it being a great company culture. So if you are as impressed with TTEC as I am, then you definitely want to tune in every single weekday this week, because I'm going to be sharing some hot work from home opportunities from TTEC. Like I mentioned, they have over 4,500 open positions that need to be filled, and they are going to be filled with y'all. Okay, I'm claiming it. Y'all claim it. You watch this interview with Christina, you know what happens after you hit the apply button, and now it's time to actually apply. So if you need to get your resume together, check out my free resource for that. It's linked in the description box below, along with some other free resources for y'all. Take me up on them, okay? They're only gonna help you. And thank you so much for watching. I cannot wait to share more hot work from home opportunities and info from TTEC this week with y'all. And I will see you tomorrow with some hot work from home opportunities from TTEC. So thank you, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.